No tip from a billionaire, until the waiter looked under the plate. Before we begin, if you believe kindness can change everything, hit that subscribe button, smash the like and comment "I choose kindness" below. Your support keeps these stories alive. Now, let's dive in. A billionaire walks into a dying diner at midnight. She orders only water and toast, sits for 90 minutes, watches everything, says nothing, then leaves with $0 on the table. But hidden underneath her plate was something that would shatter one man's world and rebuild it into something extraordinary. This is Marcus Chen's story, and it begins with a test he didn't know he was taking. The neon sign of Bluebird Diner flickered in the rain like a dying heartbeat. Inside, fluorescent lights buzzed over cracked vinyl booths and chipped formica tables. It was 11:47 p.m., and the place smelled like burnt coffee and broken dreams. Marcus Chen moved between tables with practiced efficiency, his smile never wavering despite the exhaustion carved into his 31-year-old face. His black hair showed premature gray at the temples. His server's apron was faded from too many washes. But his eyes held something rare in a place like this: kindness without expectation. At booth 3, Rita the nurse counted coins for her third coffee. Marcus had already seen her come up short twice tonight. When he brought the pot over, he waved away her shaking hands. "On the house, Rita, you save lives all day. Let me handle the coffee." Her eyes glistened. "Marcus, I can't keep." "You can and you will, just pay it forward someday." She nodded, unable to speak. At the counter, old Tony hunched over his chili, muttering about the government between bites. Homeless, veteran, angry at the world but never at Marcus. "How's it going tonight, Tony?" Marcus refilled his water without being asked. "Better now that you're here, kid." Tony's weathered face softened. "You're the only one in this whole damn city who remembers my name." "That's because your name matters, Tony. Don't let anyone tell you different." In the corner booth, a young couple split one meal between them, embarrassment coloring their faces. Marcus had seen them count their money 3 times. When he brought their check, he'd already reduced it by half. They left a single dollar tip, all they had. Marcus pocketed it with genuine gratitude. This was his life now. 4 years of night shifts at Bluebird Diner. 4 years since his wife Lynn died from a brain aneurysm that came without warning, without mercy. She left behind Marcus and their daughter Lily, who was 6 years old and still asked when mommy was coming home. Someone had to be there when Lily woke from nightmares. Someone had to braid her hair and pack her lunch and read her stories until she fell asleep. The day jobs paid more, but night shifts let him be a father when it mattered most. He worked 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. 5 nights a week, slept while Lily was at school, woke up to make her dinner, helped with homework, tucked her in, then came back here. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't easy, but it was enough. Until the email arrived that would change everything. Marcus pulled out his phone during his break, leaning against the cold storage room wall. His hands trembled as he read the message from Lily's school. Subject: urgent, tuition increase notice. The words blurred together. New STEM program, enhanced curriculum, tuition increasing from $900 to $3,200 per semester. Marcus had $287 in his bank account. His chest tightened as reality crashed down. Marcus steadied himself against the wall, forcing air into his lungs. Lily loved that school. Her best friend Emma was there. Her teacher, Mrs. Patterson, understood her grief, gave her space to heal. It was the one constant in her life after Lynn died. He couldn't take that away from her, but $3,200. Marcus, his coworker Dennis, appeared in the doorway. "You okay, man?" Marcus forced his professional smile back into place. "Yeah, just tired. What's up?" "New customer in booth 12. Looks like she wants something." Marcus straightened his apron and walked back onto the floor. That's when he saw her. She sat alone in the corner booth, the one with the broken spring nobody liked. Maybe 45 years old, with sharp features and silver-streaked hair pulled back in a severe bun. She wore a black wool coat that probably cost more than Marcus made in 6 months. Designer handbag on the seat beside her. Watch that caught the dim light like captured stars. But it wasn't her clothes that struck Marcus. It was her eyes, ice blue and calculating, the eyes of someone who saw everything and revealed nothing. Marcus approached with his warmest smile. "Good evening, ma'am. What can I get you tonight?" She looked up at him, her gaze moving over his face like she was memorizing every detail. "Water and 1 slice of wheat toast, dry." "That's all. That's all." Marcus wrote it down, coming right up. When he brought her order, she didn't touch it. She just sat there, hands folded on the table, watching. An hour passed. Marcus checked on her twice. Each time she said she was fine. Each time her eyes followed him as he moved through the diner. She watched him help Rita, watched him talk to Tony, watched him clear the young couple's table and smile at their meager tip like it was a fortune. She watched everything. At 1:15 a.m., she finally stood and walked to the register. Marcus met her there, professional smile in place despite his exhaustion. "Just the water and toast." "Yes." "That'll be $3.50. She handed him a black credit card without a word. He ran it. She signed the receipt and placed it on the counter, then turned and walked out into the rain without a goodbye. Marcus picked up the receipt. His eyes went to the tip line. Blank zero, not even $1. Something tightened in his chest, but he'd learned long ago not to show disappointment. Rich people rarely tipped well. They thought the transaction itself was enough. He folded the receipt and moved to clear her table. That's when he saw it. A small white envelope tucked beneath the plate, folded once. On the front, in precise handwriting. "For the server who sees everyone." Marcus's hands began to shake. He picked it up carefully, like it might disappear. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a business card. Marcus unfolded the paper with trembling fingers. The handwriting was elegant, controlled. "You were tested tonight, you passed. Tomorrow 11 a.m. Summit Tower, floor 52. Ask for Alina Voss. This is not charity. This is an opportunity. Don't ignore it." The business card was heavy stock with gold embossing. Billionaire Voss. Founder and CEO. Voss Enterprises. Marcus's breath caught. Alina Voss. He knew that name. Everyone did. Forbes billionaire. Self-made tech mogul. The woman who built an empire from nothing and ran it with legendary intensity. And she had just sat in his diner for 90 minutes, testing him. His first instinct was to throw it away. Rich people didn't help poor people without strings attached. That's how the world worked. But then he thought about the email, about Lily, about the $3,200 he didn't have and would never have. About the look in Alina Voss's eyes when she watched him help Rita, talk to Tony, smile at that young couple's dollar tip. She had been studying him, measuring something. Marcus slipped the card and note into his pocket. He finished his shift in a daze, his mind spinning with questions. What did she want? Why him? What was the catch? When he got home at 5:47 a.m., the apartment was dark except for Lily's nightlight. He checked on her first, always first. She slept peacefully, her stuffed rabbit Mr. Whiskers tucked under her chin. Her black hair spread across the pillow like silk. Marcus stood in the doorway watching her breathe. Lynn used to say, "Give her the world we never had." He'd been trying. God, he'd been trying, but trying wasn't enough. He sat on his bed and pulled out the business card again. The gold letters seemed to glow in the darkness. Alina Voss, Summit Tower, 11 a.m. He could ignore it, pretend it never happened, go back to his life of night shifts and barely making rent and watching his daughter's opportunities slip away because he couldn't afford to catch them. Or he could go. He could find out what Alina Voss wanted. Why she had tested him. What she saw in a tired waiter that made her leave that note. Marcus didn't sleep. He lay there until Lily's alarm went off at 7 a.m., his mind churning with possibilities and fears. Over breakfast, Lily looked at him with those serious brown eyes, Lynn's eyes. "Baba, you look extra tired today." He smiled and kissed her forehead. "I'm okay, little dragon. Just had a strange night at work." "Strange how?" "I'll tell you later, after I figure it out myself." She squeezed his hand. "I love you, Baba." "I love you too, sweetheart, more than anything in this world." After dropping her at school, Marcus stood outside and made his decision. He would go to Summit Tower, not because he believed in miracles, but because refusing to try felt like giving up, and he had promised Lynn he would never do that. Summit Tower pierced the sky like a glass blade, 63 floors of steel and ambition. Marcus stood across the street, staring up at it, feeling impossibly small in his 8-year-old wedding suit that was too tight in the shoulders and short in the sleeves. The lobby smelled like money. Marble floors reflected lights from a crystal chandelier that probably cost more than his entire apartment building. The reception desk looked like it belonged in a palace. Marcus approached, his worn shoes squeaking slightly on the polished floor. The receptionist looked up with a professional smile that cooled when she saw his ill-fitting suit. "Can I help you?" Her tone was polite but distant. "I'm here to see Alina Voss. My name is Marcus Chen." Her eyebrows rose. "Do you have an appointment?" "She asked me to come." The skepticism on her face was clear. She picked up the phone, murmured something Marcus couldn't hear, listened, then hung up. When she looked at him again, surprise had replaced skepticism. 52nd floor, elevator on your right." Marcus rode up alone, watching his reflection in the polished steel. A man out of place. A man who didn't belong. The numbers climbed, 20, 30, 40, 52. The doors opened onto a hallway of dark wood and frosted glass. A young assistant in a crisp suit met him immediately. "Mr. Chen, this way, please." They walked past offices where people worked on computers worth thousands, past conference rooms with views of the entire city spread out like a kingdom. Marcus noticed he was the only person of color on the entire floor. The assistant stopped at double doors at the end of the hall, knocked twice. "Mr. Chen is here." "Send him in." The voice was calm, controlled. The doors opened. Alina Voss stood behind a massive desk, silhouetted against floor-to-ceiling windows. The city sprawled behind her like something she owned. She wore a charcoal suit, her silver-streaked hair pulled back sharply. "Mr. Chen," she gestured to the chairs, "please sit." Marcus sat on leather softer than anything he'd ever owned. Alina walked to a side table and poured 2 cups of coffee from an expensive French press. "Coffee?" "Sure, thank you." She brought both cups to the desk and sat across from him. For a long moment they just looked at each other. Then Marcus spoke. "Why am I here?" Alina took a sip of her coffee, studying him. "I've been searching for someone specific for 8 months, someone who treats people with dignity when nobody's watching. And you think that's me because I helped some customers at a diner. I know it's you because I watched you for 90 minutes, the way you helped the nurse who couldn't pay, the way you spoke to the homeless veteran like he mattered, the way you reduced that couple's bill without them noticing." She leaned forward. "You see people, Mr. Chen. That's rare." Marcus set his coffee down carefully. "So you left 0 tip to test me. That's messed up." "Perhaps, but necessary." Alina's expression didn't change. "I needed to see how you'd react to being disrespected by someone who clearly had money. You didn't complain, didn't curse me to your coworkers. You just thanked me and wished me a safe night. That told me everything." Marcus stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. "I don't know what kind of game this is, but I'm not interested in being your social experiment." "Sit down, Mr. Chen." I'm not a lab rat you can study for your entertainment. Alina's voice remained calm. You're right to be angry, but if you walk out now, you'll never know what I'm offering. Marcus hesitated, hand on the chair. What could you possibly offer that's worth humiliating me? A job, Director of Community Impact for a new initiative I'm launching. $92,000 a year, full benefits, and a full scholarship for your daughter at Westbridge Academy, the best private school in the state. The number hit Marcus like a physical blow. 92,000. He made 26,000 working 60-hour weeks. Lily's tuition problem would disappear. Their financial stress would vanish overnight. He sat back down slowly. What's the catch? The catch is that you'll work harder than you've ever worked. You'll be responsible for families in crisis. Real people with real problems. If you fail, they suffer. If you succeed, you change lives. Alina's ice blue eyes never wavered. If that sounds easy, you're not the right person. Why me? I'm just a waiter. I don't have a degree in social work. I don't have connections or experience. Alina set down her coffee and folded her hands. 22 years ago, my younger brother Daniel died from an overdose. He was homeless, struggling, invisible to most of the world. Her voice remained steady, but something flickered behind her eyes. Before he died, he told me about a diner he'd go to sometimes. He said there was a server there who always treated him like a human being, who remembered his name, who never made him feel ashamed. She paused. After Daniel died, I went to that diner. I wanted to thank that server, to tell them they mattered, but they'd moved on. I never got the chance. Marcus's throat tightened. Last week someone sent me a video. A customer at Bluebird Diner filmed you helping a nurse who couldn't pay. It went viral in certain circles. When I watched it, I saw my brother's server. I saw the same kindness, the same dignity. Alina's eyes locked on Marcus. So I came to see for myself, and you passed every test. Marcus stared at her. This is about your brother. This is about making sure people like him are never invisible again. Alina slid a folder across the desk. You have 72 hours to decide. If you say yes, you start in 3 weeks. Marcus opened the folder with shaking hands. Inside were detailed plans for something called the Visibility Project, a comprehensive support program for working families in crisis, job training, childcare subsidies, emergency rent assistance, mental health resources, educational grants. The budget was in the millions. You want me to run this? I want you to build it, to make sure it actually helps people instead of just making me feel philanthropic. Alina's voice was firm. I have money. I have lawyers and accountants and consultants, but I don't have someone who knows what it's like to work 3 jobs and still fall short. Someone who understands what it means to smile at people who don't see you. That's what I need. That's what they need. Marcus closed the folder. I need to think about it. Of course, you have my number. Marcus stood and walked to the door. He stopped with his hand on the handle. The 0 tip. That really bothered you, didn't it? He turned back. Yeah, it did. Alina nodded. Good, that means you still care. That means you haven't become numb. Hold on to that. Marcus left without another word. He walked out of Summit Tower in a daze, his mind spinning. $92,000, a scholarship for Lily, a chance to actually help people instead of just surviving. But nothing came free, especially not from billionaires. There had to be a catch, something she wasn't telling him. He spent the rest of the day researching Alina Voss. Articles, interviews, a Forbes profile from last year. Most of it confirmed what he expected: ruthless businesswoman, self-made billionaire, demanding boss. But then he found an old article from a local newspaper, 9 years old. The headline read, Voss Enterprises CEO credits late brother's struggle for philanthropy focus. It mentioned Daniel Voss, age 24 when he died, years of homelessness and addiction, how Alina had tried to save him but couldn't, how his death had changed her entire approach to business and giving. The article mentioned that after Daniel's death, Alina had quietly funded dozens of homeless outreach programs, addiction recovery centers, and job training initiatives, most done anonymously. This wasn't about publicity. This was personal. This was grief channeled into action. Marcus closed his laptop and stared at the wall. What would Lynn want him to do? She had been a nurse, working doubles to give Lily a better life. She never complained, never gave up. The night before she died, she had told him, "Whatever happens, give her everything we couldn't have." He pulled out his phone and looked at a photo of Lily, 7 years old. Lynn's eyes, his determination. She deserved better than night shifts and counting pennies. She deserved opportunities, choices, a future without limits. Marcus picked up Alina's business card. He stared at it for a long time. Then he made his decision. Marcus was about to call Alina when his phone buzzed. A text from Dennis at the diner. "Have you seen the news? About you and Alina Voss." His stomach dropped. He opened his browser and typed his name. The first result was a gossip blog article posted 2 hours ago. Billionaire Alina Voss's mysterious diner visit. What's really going on? The article was full of speculation and thinly veiled insinuations. It questioned why a successful CEO would offer a high-paying job to a waiter she just met. It stopped short of making direct accusations, but the implication was clear. By evening it had spread. His coworkers were texting, former colleagues were messaging, even parents at Lily's school had seen it. At 6 p.m. Mrs. Patterson called. "Mr. Chen, I wanted to give you a heads up. Some parents have been talking and a few children made comments to Lily today." Marcus's jaw clenched. What kind of comments? Questions about special treatment. Young children repeat what they hear at home without understanding context. "I shut it down immediately, but I thought you should know." After the call, Marcus sat with Lily at dinner. She pushed her rice around her plate, unusually quiet. "Lily, sweetheart, did something happen at school?" She looked down. "Some kids said things about you." "What things?" Her lip trembled. "They said you're getting a job because..." "They used mean words, Baba. They said rich people don't help people like us unless..." She couldn't finish. Marcus pulled her into his arms as she cried. Rage and shame burned in his chest. His daughter shouldn't have to deal with this. She shouldn't have to defend her father against accusations she didn't even understand. "Listen to me, little dragon." He lifted her chin gently. "Those kids don't know anything. Their parents don't know anything. I haven't done anything wrong. Do you believe me?" She nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You're the most important thing in my life. I would never do something that would make you ashamed. Never, okay?" "Okay, Baba." But as he held her, Marcus made a decision. He couldn't put Lily through this. The money didn't matter. The opportunity didn't matter. Nothing mattered more than his daughter's dignity and peace. He waited until Lily was asleep, then called Alina's office. Her assistant answered. "This is Marcus Chen. I need to speak with Ms. Voss." "She's in a meeting, but..." "Tell her I'm declining her offer. Tell her thank you, but I can't accept." "Mr. Chen, please hold." "No, just tell her." He hung up. Marcus sat in the dark living room, his head in his hands. He had tried. He had really tried. But the world didn't let people like him rise without tearing them down first. He had made the right choice for Lily. That was all that mattered. The knock on his door at 7:30 the next morning changed everything. Marcus opened the door to find Alina Voss standing in the hallway of his fourth-floor apartment, looking completely out of place in her expensive coat and heels. "How did you? May I come in?" Marcus stepped aside, too stunned to argue. Alina walked into the small apartment, her eyes taking in the second-hand furniture, the toys scattered on the floor, the photographs of Lynn on every wall. Lily sat at the kitchen table eating cereal, her eyes wide. "Baba, who's that?" Elena walked over and crouched down to Lily's level, meeting her eyes. "Hi, Lily. I'm Elena. Your dad is one of the best people I've ever met." She pulled a small wrapped box from her bag. "I heard you like science." Lily looked at Marcus. He nodded. She carefully unwrapped it, a beginner's astronomy kit with telescope, star map, and constellation guide. Lily's face lit up. "Really, for me?" "Really, the universe is waiting for you." "Thank you." Lily hugged the box to her chest. Elena stood and turned to Marcus. "Can we talk privately?" Marcus led her to the tiny balcony overlooking the parking lot. Elena leaned against the railing and spoke without preamble. "I know about the article. I know what people are saying. It's being handled. There will be a retraction published today, and I've spoken with Lily's school principal. Any child who harasses her will face consequences." "That doesn't change what people think." "Let me tell you something." Elena's voice hardened. "People will always think the worst until you prove them wrong. You can spend your life worrying about their opinions, or you can spend it doing something that matters. Your choice. Easy for you to say, you're rich, powerful, nobody questions you." "Really?" Elena's laugh was bitter. "Do you know how many times people assume I slept my way to the top? How many articles question whether a woman can really run a billion-dollar company? How many business deals I've lost because men don't take me seriously?" She stepped closer. "I could have let it stop me, but I didn't, because I decided my work would speak louder than their whispers." Marcus looked away. "My daughter is being bullied because of this." "Your daughter is watching you," Elena said softly. "What are you teaching her? That you give up when people talk, or that you fight for something better despite what they say? That's not fair. Life isn't fair. You know that better than anyone." She pulled a folder from her bag. "This is the contract. 92,000, full benefits, Lily's scholarship, 3-month trial period. If you're uncomfortable at any point, you can leave. No penalties, no strings." Marcus took the folder but didn't open it. "Why are you doing this?" "Because my brother died thinking he didn't matter. I won't let that happen to anyone else if I can help it." After Elena left, Lily came onto the balcony with her new astronomy kit, her earlier sadness replaced by excitement. "Baba, look, it has a real telescope. Can we look at stars tonight?" Marcus knelt down to her level. "Lily, I need to ask you something important. Ms. Voss offered me a new job. It pays more money and would help us a lot. But some people are saying mean things about it, about me. If I take this job, those kids at school might keep being mean. What do you think I should do?" Lily was quiet for a moment, her face serious. Then she looked up at him with those wise eyes, too wise for 7 years old. "Mama used to say you were the bravest person she knew. I think she was right." Marcus's throat tightened. "What does that have to do with the job?" "Brave people don't stop doing good things because of mean people. They keep going." She put her small hand on his cheek. "If you can help families like you help people at the diner, you should do it, Baba. I can handle the mean kids. Mrs. Patterson will help me." "You're sure?" She nodded firmly. "I'm sure, and Mama would want you to help people, right?" Marcus pulled her into a hug, tears burning his eyes. "When did you get so smart, little dragon?" "I've always been smart. You just forget sometimes." That night after Lily was asleep, Marcus opened the contract and read every word. 3 times. He looked for hidden clauses, for traps, for anything that would explain why this felt too good to be true. But it was straightforward. $92,000 annual salary, full health benefits, 3-month trial period. Either party could terminate with 2 weeks' notice. Lily's scholarship was separate, guaranteed regardless of his employment status. Elena had even included a handwritten note on the last page. "You're not charity, Marcus. You're an investment in doing things right. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. E.V." Marcus sat at his small kitchen table and thought about Lynn, about the last thing she ever said to him. Give her everything we couldn't have. He thought about Daniel Voss, who died feeling invisible, about Rita counting coins, about Tony being angry at a world that forgot him, about young couples too embarrassed to ask for help. He thought about the $287 in his bank account and the $3,200 he needed for Lily's school, about working night shifts forever while his daughter grew up without him. And he thought about Lily's words, "Brave people don't stop doing good things because of mean people." Marcus picked up his phone and called Elena. She answered on the second ring. "I'm in," he said, "but I have conditions." "I'm listening." 6-month trial, not 3. I keep working 1 shift a week at the diner. Every decision about the program goes through me. I'm not a figurehead. And Lily's scholarship waits until I prove I can do the job. Deal. Welcome aboard, Marcus. You start in 3 weeks. The first month was brutal. Marcus's office on the 52nd floor felt like foreign territory. Other employees watched him with suspicious eyes, whispering when he passed. The charity case. The diner guy who got lucky. He ignored them and worked. Arrived at 7 a.m. Left at 7 p.m. Read every file on struggling families until his eyes burned. Built relationships with nonprofits, job training centers, community organizations. He still wore his wedding suit, still took the bus, still lived in the same apartment. Nothing changed except where he went during the day. The Visibility Project launched 6 weeks after he started. Marcus had shaped it into something real, not handouts, not pity, dignity. Job training connected to actual hearing partners, childcare subsidies, emergency rent assistance, mental health resources, educational grants without mountains of paperwork, programs designed by someone who understood because he'd lived it. The first family he helped was the Johnsons, single father with 3 kids, working 2 jobs, about to be evicted. The program got him into electrical certification training, helped with childcare, covered 3 months' rent. 6 months later, he was making double his previous income. The second person was Sandra, a woman who couldn't find work because of a 15-year-old misdemeanor. Marcus connected her with employers willing to look past records. Within weeks, she had an office job. The third was Dennis from the diner. He showed up at Marcus's office one afternoon, hat in his hands. "I shouldn't have doubted you," Dennis said. "Nothing to apologize for. You were protecting me. I heard about your program. Think you can help an old cook who wants more?" Marcus smiled. "Absolutely." Within a month, Dennis was enrolled in culinary management training. A year later, he'd be running a kitchen at a high-end restaurant. 3 months in, the Visibility Project had helped 72 families. Press coverage shifted from skeptical to impressed, but Marcus refused all interview requests. "This isn't about me," he told Elena. "It's about them." She just smiled. "That's why it works." Then in month 4, Elena collapsed during a board meeting. Exhaustion. The doctors said she'd been working 100-hour weeks running the company and overseeing multiple initiatives. The board held an emergency meeting the next morning. Marcus wasn't invited, but he went anyway. He walked into the conference room where 12 board members sat in expensive suits, their faces showing shock at his unannounced entrance. "This is a closed meeting, Mr. Chen," said Richard Sutton, a silver-haired man with ice in his voice. "I know, I'm here anyway." "This is inappropriate." "You're voting to cut the Visibility Project." Marcus's voice was steady and strong. "I'm here to tell you why that's a mistake." Sutton's eyes narrowed. "We've reviewed the financials. The ROI is unclear." "ROI?" Marcus pulled out his phone. "Let me tell you about returns." He showed them photos. Sarah Johnson and her kids in stable housing. Marcus from the program, 90 days clean from opioids. Dennis in his new kitchen uniform. Marcus looked each board member in the eye, his voice calm but powerful. You want return on investment. Here it is. Every person we help becomes someone who helps others. Sarah volunteers 10 hours a week with our program now. The Marcus you see here mentors 2 others fighting addiction. Dennis trains young cooks from struggling backgrounds. He put his phone down. That's not on your spreadsheet, but that's what lasts. That's what changes communities. But the cost, someone began. The cost, Marcus's voice rose slightly. Let me tell you about cost. The cost of homelessness is emergency room visits, police calls, shelter systems that don't work. The cost of unemployment is food stamps, depression, families falling apart. We're not spending money, we're preventing those costs from multiplying. He stepped closer to the table. I was one of those families. I worked 60 hours a week and still couldn't afford my daughter's school tuition. I smiled at people who didn't see me. I counted coins for groceries. And one person, he gestured toward the door, toward where Alina was recovering, one person decided I was worth investing in. Marcus's voice grew stronger. You're not investing in a program. You're investing in dignity. And dignity pays back in ways money can't measure. It pays back in kids who grow up without shame, in parents who can look their children in the eye, in communities that remember kindness and pass it forward. He placed both hands on the table. If you cut this program, you're not cutting costs, you're cutting hope. You're telling 72 families they don't matter, that they're not worth the investment. The room was silent. Marcus straightened. And if you do that, I walk, not because I'm afraid, but because I refuse to work for people who measure human lives in quarterly earnings. Your choice. He left before anyone could respond. 2 hours later, Alina called from the hospital. They voted unanimously to continue funding, double the budget actually. Marcus closed his eyes. What did I say to convince them? The truth. You told them what I've been trying to make them understand for years, that this isn't charity, it's an investment in the kind of world we want to live in. She paused. I heard you threaten to quit. I meant it. I know, that's why they believed you. She laughed, tired but genuine. I picked the right person. Get some rest, Alina. Only if you promise to keep fighting. 6 months after he started, Marcus stood in his apartment looking at Lily's scholarship letter. Full tuition approved. He had earned it, proven himself. But when he sat down with Lily that evening, he made a different choice. We're declining the scholarship, sweetheart. She looked confused. Why, Baba? Because your school is good, your friends are there, Mrs. Patterson knows you, you're happy. He smiled. The fancy school isn't better just because it's expensive. She hugged him tight. I like my school anyway. Marcus realized something profound that night. Success wasn't about the biggest salary or the fanciest school. It was about having choices, about not being desperate, about being enough. Every Friday night, Marcus still worked one shift at Bluebird Diner. He'd kept his promise. Dennis was gone, working at his new restaurant. But new faces filled the tables, new people struggling, surviving, hopping. Near closing time, a young woman came in. Maybe 22, wearing work clothes stained with house paint. Her face showed exhaustion. Marcus recognized. 3 jobs, no sleep, endless worry. She sat at the counter and studied the menu carefully, ordered only coffee, nothing else. Marcus brought it with his warmest smile. Long day. Try long year. She attempted to laugh, but it came out hollow. When he brought her check, he'd already crossed out the total. Someone paid it forward. Just remember to do the same when you can. Her eyes filled with tears. Seriously. Seriously, go home, rest. I don't, thank you, really. After she left, Marcus noticed someone in booth 12, the same booth where everything had started. Alina sat with coffee and toast, smiling. Marcus walked over. You know, most billionaires don't hang out in diners at midnight. Most billionaires don't know what they're missing. She finished her coffee and stood, placing $200 bills on the table. Beneath them, a folded note. Marcus picked it up. You're changing the world one person at a time. Keep going. EV. That woman you just helped, Alina said, pausing at the door. Her name is Carmen. She's a painter, putting herself through art school. She smiled. She's going to make it because someone saw her. After Alina left, Marcus stood holding the note. He put the cash in the staff tip jar but kept the note. Outside, the rain had stopped. The streets were quiet. Marcus locked up and walked to his car, the old sedan that ran better now with proper maintenance. His phone buzzed. Lily, love you, Baba, see you in the morning. He smiled and texted back, love you too, little dragon. As he drove home, Marcus thought about the journey. 6 months ago, he was invisible. Now he was helping 90 families build better futures. Lily slept peacefully without worry. He went to bed each night knowing he mattered. All because a billionaire left $0 on a table. But hidden underneath was something worth more than any tip could ever be. A chance, a test, an opportunity to prove that kindness isn't weakness, that dignity matters, that the invisible deserve to be seen. From Alina's brother to the server who remembered his name. From that memory to Alina. From Alina to Marcus. From Marcus to the Johnsons, Sandra, Dennis, Carmen, 90 families and counting. The ripple never stops. The note in his pocket felt warm. He drove home where Lily waited and tomorrow promised possibility. Where enough was finally enough. Where kindness once received could be given again and again. Forever forward. Remember, hit subscribe, drop a like and comment, I choose kindness if this story moved you. Share it with someone who needs hope today. Because everyone deserves to be seen. Everyone deserves dignity. Until next time, choose kindness.